On today's show, I'll be bringing back two-time guest Jake Hall, also known as the manufacturing millennial. And together we'll talk about best practices for approaching LinkedIn for your brand and your company spokespeople and your employees. And while I had him on, we also talked about the role of influencers within the marketing mix and how to be successful working with an influencer for your company. Let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now on with our podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Jake Hall. You all know him as the manufacturing millennial, and he's also just an advocate for manufacturing in our industry and friends of the show. We've known each other quite a few years now, Jake, and I'm so happy to have you back. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Always great to have fun conversations. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I was thinking back to the last time I saw you, and I believe it was at Automate in 2025. So just curious, catch me up. What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, gosh, since Automate in Detroit, probably 35 more shows, I would say.
What?
Yeah. Since I think last year I did 62 shows was the total count. And I'd have to check. So it was a busy year. But you know, things are great. It's a lot of fun things happening in the industry, fun things happening around technology and automation and AI, and just enjoying life.
Wow. I can't even imagine. Like, do you sometimes stack 2 in 1 week? I'm trying to do the math here on half a year. You have to.
Yeah.
So
yes, like a lot of times it works out well where I can fly into one and fly out to another one, or sometimes there's a lot of like events that are happening in Atlanta or Chicago where I'm just flying in for a single day. And then I fly out of Grand Rapids in the morning. I get to that location by 8:30, 9 a.m. I'm there for the day, and then I fly back home that evening. It's just, you know, it keeps things, somewhat in a manageable situation.
Well, good. And all in the United States?
No. So last year was UK and Germany, and then in the US as well. This year we're looking at possibly going back to the UK, Germany, Mexico, maybe an event in Canada. So we're moving. We're all over the place.
All right. So get that passport ready.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those German trade shows are wonderful. Huge trade show. I've been to Electronica, Productronica. So I've seen a few. Better World. Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. And of course, all the beer and pretzels and food they have on the floor definitely beats a lot of US shows.
Absolutely. Well, back by popular demand, you'll be returning to IMS, the Industrial Marketing Summit, again in 2026 to help all of our marketers in engineering and manufacturing approach LinkedIn in a more strategic way, in a way that actually gets results. So I wanted to take a little peek into what you've been covering and just compliment you. You were, I believe, the most highly rated session out of everyone, including
awesome.
mine. So thank you for that and the work you put into it. And in part because of your session, we now have some sessions at 60 minutes and some a little shorter. And that way we can accommodate deeper conversations. So as yours, you had to beat people off. I think I was the person right after you and I'm like, okay, you have to leave now.
Yeah. It was a lot of packed content, but that's what I want the show to be. And that's what I want, people who are going to the event to have is they walk away with a lot of stuff, almost a unmanageable amount of things that they could do to improve what they're going to do in 2026.
Great. Well, I guess fundamentally, why LinkedIn? Why do you focus on this as a channel? Why do you advocate others should do the same?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at social media across the board, it's a great way for people to engage in content where they, I guess, don't feel like they don't have to have their guardrails up. Feel like they're always got to be sold something and told what to do and told what to buy. I think social media is a great platform for individuals and businesses to come across as a very authentic program of conversation. Why I chose LinkedIn as versus other platforms is LinkedIn, I think, has some benefits compared to like doing something on YouTube or X or Instagram or Facebook. And a lot of that is people can't, quote unquote, hide behind a fake username, right? You're on YouTube, you're on X. People can say whoever they are. They can put their name in for whatever they want to be. And there's really ever no regulation on who's engaging, what they're saying, what they're doing. I think LinkedIn sets at least some sort of baseline in terms of how people act, they respond, what they say, what they look at, and what's posted on LinkedIn. That's one reason why most businesses will have other social media platforms blocked. LinkedIn tends to be one that stay around because it's viewed as a professional platform.
Yeah.
I like LinkedIn as well because it's where people in my industry are who are currently in the industry or getting very quickly ready to approach that industry. You're on TikTok. You have a audience that ranges from a 10, 11-year-old on TikTok all the way up to a 75-year-old who's scrolling over in Malaysia. It's one of those things where with LinkedIn, you tend to get a much more controlled audience, which I would say has a lot higher value in terms of the people you're directly talking to. And it's one of those things where you're going to be talking to the right audience. If you're posting content and people are growing in followers who are liking in that content, and you keep that content to specific what you're doing, there's no other reason why that person's going to be following you versus you posting random content and you're just picking up a bunch of variety people. A person can be on TikTok, they get a bunch of followers, but they're posting stuff that are all over the place. There's no consistency. They might post a video that gets a lot of views and then all of a sudden, but it's completely unrelated to the industry that you're talking about or the product that you're trying to do. I think LinkedIn keeps you a little more closer and regulated.
A little more focused.
Yeah. And that for me, I guess, is a very baseline summary of why I enjoy LinkedIn.
Yeah. It reminds me of, I used to plan trade shows back in my baby marketer days at National Instruments. And these product managers would come and, we need to go to CES. Like, let's go. And I'm like, wait, we're doing test and measurement. They're, but engineers, they go to the Consumer Electronics Show and whatever. I'm like, yeah, they maybe a little sliver of them. Yeah. Versus going to a show that's really focused in what you do. And so what you're saying is very similar to me, that TikTok universe, right, is maybe there's a slice of, say, design engineers or whatever you're targeting, but it's hard to find that slice and not, have the 10-year-old and all the other people that you don't really want to try.
Here's the thing. For some companies out there from a B2C world, maybe that's slowly approaching that your market. But I think for most of industrial marketing, and that what we're focusing on, right, there's a certain niche that you're going for. There's a certain type of people or individual that you want to talk to. And I think LinkedIn provides the best source to that contact.
Yeah. Well, I know that you were a pretty early adopter of LinkedIn. And last time I had you on this podcast, about a year ago, we talked about your journey. So if someone wants to listen to that, they can go check that out. But if you reflect, you had those great early days and not as many people were on it or whatever. And now, there's a lot of noise, right? I just had
there's a lot of AI noise.
Yeah, and there's a lot of noise, and then layered on top of that, a lot of AI noise. Yeah. So is this still a good platform? Is it still effective?
Yeah, I think it is, because I think people out there are searching for real, authentic content more than anything. Mm-hmm. And if they discover that content more than ever, I think they're going to be drawn to you. And I think it's one of those things is with a world of a lot of stuff, people are seeking some sort of honesty, stability, integrity, a authentic voice of a person who's been in the industry for a long time who can be that subject matter expert, rather than someone who's just pulling a copy script off of ChatGPT and pasting it and saying it's theirs. So I think it's out there. I think coming up with original content is more important than ever. Talking via a video, I think, is more important than ever. I think so. Video content on LinkedIn in short form is still one of the most powerful tools for you to reach. It's one of those things where it's a balance between how do you get a lot of views versus how do you share your story in the most engageable and authentic way. Yeah. So when you balance a wide variety of stuff, it's a little bit of both. And I think it's one of those things is companies are always needing to evaluate how do they continue to tell a story. But yeah, I still think LinkedIn is going to be a phenomenal tool for 2026. And it's a way for you to go out and find your target audience and find ways to engage with them.
Okay. So one of the things that companies struggle with is how often do I post as a brand versus have individuals post, and finding technical subject matter experts that are willing to put themselves out there and spend time. What advice do you have to those marketers?
Yeah, I mean, I still think a healthy posting schedule for a company is 2 to 3 times a week. I think is a healthy thing. You don't need to be doing every single day. You don't need to be doing it on the weekends. It really depends on where the amount of content that you have. The one thing that, there's a balance within LinkedIn's algorithm that I've discovered where if you post too much and nobody engages with it, LinkedIn's no longer going to recommend what you have. If you post too far in between, people aren't going to remember to consistently engage with your content. So I think there's a balance that way. But I want to immediately address that when people say, well, I don't want to post because I don't think it's good enough. Post. You still want to post, just don't be posting the same exact thing over and over and over again. And I'll have visual examples at the Industrial Marketing Summit where I'll go into examples of what that looks like. I never want to discourage someone from posting because they think it's not good enough that it discourages them from posting. I think you need to be posting first, right? If you're not posting at all, it's not going to help you one bit. Once you then get into a posting routine and schedule, then it's your time to then start evaluating how do I create fun, engageable content that I would say balances. I dived into this last year, the 3 Ps, right? The people, the products, and then the problems that you're addressing. And if you're able to go out there and once a week, you're able to showcase your people, another time of week, you're able to talk about the products that you're doing. Another day during the week, you're able to talk about the problems that you helped existing customers solve through either case studies or testimonials or partnerships. Having a balance between those 3 things is important. And I think when you get more people on your platform in front of others, it makes you more personable. It makes you more reachable, right? If you're going out there and you have an individual who's a subject matter expert who you're doing a video with, and then all of a sudden a person comes up and then they have a call with you to discover your product and go over a problem, and that face that they've seen online before all of a sudden pops into a call. They're like, oh, I've seen that person before. I mean, that was great for me when I was doing back when I was still working at a systems integration company and I was doing the Manufacturing Millennial as well. I had this, and all of a sudden, I happened to a call when we're doing discovery, being with a sales meeting, and said, well, wait, you're that guy on LinkedIn. We've talked to you. He said, yeah, I'm here, but this is what I do as well. We help companies with automation and systems integration and stuff. And then all of a sudden, a whole level of comfort came across because they said, I've seen this individual before. I've heard him talk before. And I think it's one of those, it's a great balance. And that can lead into so many different ways, from sales meetings to marketing meetings to going out there and using LinkedIn as a tool to get ready for trade shows where all of a sudden you're posting about it and then they've seen that person and then they see that person then at LinkedIn, they saw on LinkedIn, then at that trade show or at that conference in person, it reduces that first upfront introduction and makes things a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. And think about that established credibility you had because they'd seen your posts, they liked what you were saying. So it just shortcut the conversation and put you in a position where you probably made the short list because of that, even to start with.
Exactly. I think for me is a lot of times when companies are out there and they're doing product discovery and trying to find solutions, everyone's got a website for the most part, but then when people are diving deeper, they want to know, okay, does a person are they active on YouTube with posting videos and content? Are they active on LinkedIn posting, right? If all of a sudden, you're working with a company and then you hop over to the LinkedIn page and they haven't posted in 9 months, you're like, okay, is this company still in business? Are they not doing well? Why aren't they doing anything? Are they slow? I think a lot of times when you go out there, there's a level of comfort and trust that's built immediately when you look at a company and all of a sudden you see that company creating active content with real people, not stock photos and images of people in suits sitting behind a desk saying, oh, we will service you. No, show me your actual service department. Show me the actual, Jim or Tom or Stephanie or whoever who's one of your service engineers or service people who's helping you stuff. And then all of a sudden it makes it just a lot more relatable and approachable.
Rather than those stock photos of people in a boardroom or the hard hat person on some generic manufacturing floor.
You look at stock photos and you're like, okay, who actually is this company? Are they say who they are? Are they big as they say they are? Because apparently if you're a couple hundred employee company, but you're still using stock photos, what? It misses that touch. And I think that goes back to the first thing I said, with this world of AI, mm-hmm. How are you still having that personal, authentic connection?
Yeah. We're recording this here in January, but I don't know why, but this made me think of all those goofy pictures everybody did over Christmas where they had like the fake Christmas pictures. And anyway, it just.
And listen, those are fun, but don't let that be the brand. No. Have your engagement and fun be a part of the brand. They need to show that you're human and that you're hopping on trends and that you're staying relevant. But don't let that be a substitute for what actually matters.
Yeah. And I like even that some of the commercials now are poking fun of it's obviously AI, so even let's do that. So I know that for the Industrial Marketing Summit, you're going to be focused on an audience of marketers. But real quick, I'd like to address the salespeople listening. We've all gotten these LinkedIn requests and then that automated message drip campaign starts and it's so annoying. I'll book 1,000 meetings for you in a month or whatever, qualified leads. What do you think? Is there a place for DMing at all or what should that look like?
No, if I get a LinkedIn request and then I immediately within like 2 minutes get an automated response, they're just gone. There's I would much rather you not reply when I connect with you. And so for me, and this is just me who personally, I get 25 to 50 messages per day on LinkedIn from different people. I am much more likely to approach, respond, and talk to an individual who I see would be engaging in content that I am posting or talking about rather than just someone who's blind hitting me up. Yeah. And the thing is, right, not every for marketing and salespeople, your target customer and your audience they might not be making their own post, right? But they have a company who's engaging with it. They might have other employees who are. It's one of those things where I always, from a sales and marketing perspective, it's never been a one direction approach. It's always been multiple angles to try and to get in. So this just goes back when I wasn't doing sales. It's if I wanted to talk to an individual, I would try and reach out to that individual, but then there'd be 3 people that I knew he worked with or she worked with that I would be approaching as well to get to them through this other individual, right? Right. It's one of those things where a multi approach is I think is what is a massive differentiator to reach the right people. But to go back to your question, no, I do not recommend using bots to auto reply and to auto send stuff, or, hey, thanks for booking. Let's chat. I'll send you a $5 gift card to have a virtual coffee meeting. I'm no. Or I where it's obviously, they're obviously using AI to customize it, but they're still getting it wrong. I'll get one. Hi, first name in brackets. I'm you're done.
Yeah. Or I'll get I admire that True Marketing works with engineering companies. Have you ever thought of writing a book? And I'm you got half of it right. The other half, I Harvard book,
So
do your homework.
That's the biggest thing right away is don't. And the same thing with people who go out there and they buy views. and engagements and stuff. Don't do that. It's just going to kill your algorithm. Don't try and do any short form leads or stuff like that. It's definitely not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit and just talk about the role of influencers within this industry, because that is essentially, I didn't really give you the opportunity to formally introduce yourself and what you do at the beginning of this, but I think that would be an interesting thing to touch on, just to talk about what you do, but maybe even more generally about what the role is of an influencer to help a brand.
Yeah. I mean, the influencer market has been around for decades. I mean, it's not anything new by any means. What I do now is not anything new than what, people and individuals were doing with brands years ago. I mean, you can look at Michael Jordan was an influencer for, Life cereal and all this stuff, right? People are professional sports, but when they have brand deals, they're influencers, right? They're influencing people. And so when I look at the value of an influencer, the influencer's a voice in the industry that is able to reach a different audience than what a specific brand might be able to do on their own. And they have a following of individuals who like what they post, who engage with what they post, who feel that they're entertained and engaged and educated by what they do. So working with influencers is a great way for companies, I think, to explore opportunities. And the one thing about influencers is the influencer never has to be the biggest that has the biggest followers or the biggest market, right? Influencers can be people who have 1,000 people who follow them on LinkedIn or a social media platform, but have a good group of connections of 25 to 30 people who engage with their content consistently, right? You never have to go out and say, I need to work with an influencer only if they have 100,000 followers, because the numbers don't directly correlate to the people that are watching and engaging them. So that's one thing I have to say about, influence. I don't want this to come across as a sales pitch for what I do, but I think what companies should be looking at in 2026 is there should be multiple ways to get your content out there, through Google ads, through, you can discuss LinkedIn ads, through trade shows and magazines, through going to in-person events. I think working with an influencer is just one of those additional options. It's never the option. It's never this or that. It's this, and this is a great way to round out your strategy. And the one thing about that is each marketing strategy has a different piece of content and a different way you're going to approach it. So what I might be posting as a piece of content is going to be very different than what you would want to do through Google Ads or your own company page. You might be bound to certain restrictions on what can be said on your corporate company page, because you have to have certain things a certain way with certain colors and certain wordings and certain this. Working with an influencer to say, hey, we want to do this. This is our story we want to talk about. You use your creative approach that's going to resonate with your audience. Great way to find a new way to discover and put out content.
Yeah, thank you for that. What are some of the barriers, like when a technical company is considering having an industry pundit or outside person advocate for their brand or their product? What are some of the uncomfortable conversations? Like I could just feel some executive pushback is what I imagine from technical executives say, they can never understand our product like we do or our solutions. How can this external person understand enough to represent our brand, because what we do is so complex or so different or whatever it is? I bet you hear this.
I hear stuff all the time. And the one thing that I always get, hey, what's the ROI on this? What are we going to get back? Sure. How many clicks are we going to get with with working with you? And I say, at least the way I work with brands and things, I'm not about clicks. I'm about driving engagement with your brand to an audience that you have not been able to reach. And it's one of those things where I always believe in the 7 touches to turn a person, right? I am one of those 7 touches that if you're out there and you're reaching an individual or a company or a market, and they haven't decided to work with you yet, if they hear about your company with another approach or another reach, it sees them, well, hey, I'm not directly getting approached by this company to work with them. I'm getting something coming in from the side. That's another way to push them in a direction.
Yep.
It's one of those things where, working with hundreds of brands now over the years that I've been doing this, personally for me, I've never really had to have the issue of, I don't like what they say or how they say it. I want to change it up. We've had to make big disagreement on what we had to say within the post or type of piece of content. I think a lot of times is companies need to realize that when you're working with an influencer, they know what's best that's going to reach their audience. And you can come to a ground where, if you're a company that wants to work with an influencer, there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to know what the post looks like. I want to know what type of visuals you're going to do. I do that. You should be doing that with an influencer. And if they're not doing that with an influencer, I would question, say, hey, is this a person? Because they're an influencer, but they also need to be a professional in the industry. It's one of those things where, if you're working with a group of people and they're not getting back to you in time, they're not giving you results in the analytics that you want to see at the end of the post and what the partnership is and the follow-up, and to make sure that they're asking what you want your story to be and what are the main talking points and what do you want the takeaways to be about your brand. The influencers should be asking those questions. If they're not, then it's one of those things where you as an individual need to make a professional decision and say, hey, is this one that really understands what we're doing? Or are they just simply going to make a post and move on?
Right. But I could see it's yes. And the other part of that is giving that influencer the freedom to do this authentically, right? And have their own point of view and not script it for them. And I could see where some companies might need to let go of some control that feels slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it takes a moment too. I mean, that was one thing I had with originally a very large manufacturer of electronics. And I work with them a lot now, and they were very corporate level. This is what you want to say. This is what you say. I said, well, wait a second. I'm not just simply a Google ad where you're just putting in what you want to say and then hit send and submit and it goes out live. Like, let me have my authentic input on what it is. And it took a while, but I mean, we're now in year 3 with them, and the first little bit changed, but after they got it, it changes and it moves forward. It's give and take. And I think you need to realize from a company, if you're wanting to work with an influencer, and you see an influencer and you want to reach out to them, you need to kind of trust them versus, hey, if an influencer is reaching out to you to do stuff, it's an approach both ways.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a very relevant conversation also in the context of LinkedIn, right? Because just like I want to empower my team, my employees to post and not script them or contain them.
100%.
Educate them about the brand, and then they need to post in what's authentic to their experience with the brand and what their role is within the company. And
you nailed it. It's the exact same approach with your employees as well. You should. A lot of times it's hard to get certain employees to post about it. What I would say, and I'll dive more into this in the keynote as well, is give your employees material to discuss, but don't tell them how to write it word for word. Give them content where if you're out there and you just did a bunch of projects and you recorded video of it, great. Give them 5 different 15-second clips that they can then upload and post and then talk about it. And then just say, hey, use hashtag this and tag this company. The rest make personal about what you did, what your part of the project was, what you're excited about, the results. That should be something that you look at.
Okay, very good. Well, gosh, lots to look forward to with your presentation. When you think about the Industrial Marketing Summit, you came all the years, right? Not just last year. Yeah, that's it.
I've been here since the beginning.
What's your favorite thing about the event? Besides, of course, your awesome presentation.
I think for me, it's just meeting people. I love when I go to a lot of events, I feel like I'm always having to work and to do something. There's always deliverables for me. I like to go there because I just like to meet a lot of people who have a lot of fun questions. I love helping people. So being able to go out there and give them feedback and talk to them and point them in the right direction for me is always exciting. And being able to work with a lot of people who are in the same world that I am within marketing and sales and brands and creating content, it's really fun to have conversations and talk with similar people.
So it's not just about coming to Austin and eating barbecue, even though I'm sure that's number 2 on your list.
That is very high on the list of coming to Austin and eating barbecue. But I would say the people there are the top.
Good. Well, I have happy news for you. Our conference party is going to be at a barbecue place on the river, and we'll have a Longhorn there. So,
awesome. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go do my Aggie horns down. No.
There you go. You got it.
Well, good. Well, any parting piece of advice to marketers kicking off the year, trying to figure out where to place bets?
If I were to give one advice for 2026, stay authentic. In a world of AI with a lot of AI produced content, you can use AI as a tool. I'm not going to discourage AI. I think AI is a phenomenal thing to be part of your marketing plan. It's not your marketing plan. It's a tool for your marketing plan. And we'll dive more into that in a couple of months or whenever you're listening to this in March 3 through 5. There you go.
Yes. So for more information on the Industrial Marketing Summit, go to industrialmarketingsummit.com. Again, the date's March 3rd through 5th in Austin, Texas. And you can see Jake and myself and a bunch of other great people. So thank you for your time today. Good luck with your travels. How many trips do you have between now and IMS? Do you even know? Can you count?
I mean, I would say at least 12.
Wow.
12 events.
So where can people connect with you and learn more about your business, Jake?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see me at the events that I'm going to be at, but if you want to learn more, you can go on to mfgmil.com. That's my website, or check me out on LinkedIn. Just search Jake Hall, look for the blue Cubs hat. I'll probably be the top search right in on LinkedIn, and send me an invite and connection, and we'll be glad to talk.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Jake. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and RA newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.